Y'all, my world is shook up. The way Jesus just exposed the enemy in Matthew 13 is mind-boggling. I recently just talked about this verse yesterday, but I have to read it again because God gave me a new revelation last night. Matthew 13 verse 37. Jesus replied, "The Son of Man is the farmer who plants the good seed. The field is the world, and the good seed represents the people of the kingdom. The weeds are the people who belong to the evil one. The enemy who planted the weeds among the wheat is the devil." Keyword, he planted the weeds among the wheat. The harvest is the end of the world, and the harvesters are the angels. Let me just show you a picture to differentiate what the weeds look like and what the wheat looks like. This is a picture of the wheat, and this is a picture of the weeds. This is a picture of the wheat, and this is a picture of the tares, which is also called weeds. What's crazy is after you look at that photo, you almost cannot tell a difference. This is why we have to be so careful, because so many people look godly, they even sound godly, they have the form of godliness. But the difference between wheat and tares is that one provides nutrients and one doesn't. This is what was so deep. The weeds look just like the wheat, but the weeds are there to destroy the wheat. But Jesus made it very clear that until the end of the world, he will not remove the weeds from the wheat. That means the enemy is no longer trying to look different. The enemy is trying to blend in so that you don't even recognize that he's there. He wants you to be confused and fall into the trap. The only way that you won't have confusion, because God is not a God of confusion, is by reading the Word of God. This is where your discernment is going to come in, because you got to see who is here to destroy God and who is here to uplift God. You can most of the time tell these things by people's fruit. You can simply look at what is being produced in their life, because then you can see what seed has been planted. It says the enemy plants the weeds and God plants the wheat. But I do want to be clear that the enemy can have no control over you unless you give him access. Remember, certain environments start to grow certain things. Simply just look at the order in creation that God has already created. Certain fruits and vegetables have to grow in certain climates. It has to grow in certain environments. Be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you watch. Be careful the people who you hang around. And I know you know that already, but this is something that needs to be said again. Because we begin to lighten it up and say, well, it won't affect me in the same way. But you're just giving a foothold to the enemy to start planting different seeds in you, so that now instead of you growing wheat, you're growing weed. And just by looking at it from a fleshly standpoint, you cannot tell the difference. Just like a farmer would have to be knowledgeable in what seeds produce certain things. They would have to see, okay, this thing looks different from this thing. But from the naked eye, we can't see that. The only way you're going to be able to discern if someone is with God or they're not is by looking at the Word of God. Because things appear a certain way, but that is not always the case. The Word of God tells you not to lean on your own understanding. It says, seek His will in all of your ways, and He will show you which path to take. Proverbs 3 verse 5. Don't be deceived. Take the time to learn the nature of Christ.